Greetings, I'm Old Man Zoo, and this is, I'm not sure what to call this yet. This isn't obviously a full symbolism video, so I think this month there's a couple of ideas that I wanted to talk about, but they weren't really big enough to fit into a full-on symbolism video. And so I just kind of wanted to make something a little bit smaller, so I've got two videos I think I'm going to release this month. And this being the first one. This first video, I really wanted to talk about the evil eye. So if you guys watched the two Mega Man symbolism videos I put out, at least in one of those, I talked about the evil eye and how that's sort of it's a general enemy motif throughout Mega Man, but I got to thinking more about the evil eye and sort of the deep symbolic meaning behind it, and just where exactly did this thing come from, and where else have we seen it? As gamers, we've seen it probably more than we think. So just to give you some background, and that way you don't have to scroll through, 2 or 3 hours worth of me rambling about Mega Man. The evil eye, at least as it relates to Mega Man, is this idea that any enemy that has like sort of a single red dot falls into this evil eye symbolism. And the evil eye is an eye that casts a curse on that which it gazes upon. So when I was doing a little bit of historical research on where this idea for the evil eye came from, I ran into the concept of the Kako Mati, which is basically the Greek evil eye. And the idea is that according to old Greek tradition, you can be affected by the evil eye if somebody glares at you with like a hateful intention or with a specific curse in their head. So, and this usually comes about due to jealousy. So, if you are doing really successful, or you are particularly genetically gifted with beauty, then somebody who may not have those gifts or may not have that success might look upon you with hatred or with envy, and sort of think in their mind how much maybe you don't deserve these things, right? And so they would cast this curse upon you, and the evil eye curse is thought to bring sickness and or misfortune. And an interesting note when I was looking into sort of this traditional belief is that according to the old tradition, you can only be affected by the maladies of the evil eye if you believe in the existence of the evil eye, which I thought was interesting because it's like the ancient Greeks knew, sort of intuitively, they knew about the sort of placebo effect of positive thinking and negative thinking. So if you think you're under a curse, then anything that bad happens to you, you're more likely to attribute to that curse, right? So if somebody tells you, oh, you walked under a ladder, you're going to have bad luck, and then, the next day you spill hot coffee all over yourself or something, you're going to, if you're superstitious by nature, then there's a likelihood that you're going to attribute the fact that you walked under a ladder and you have bad luck now. And so all of the negative things that happen to you are amplified by the fact that you might be preoccupied with some sort of curse that's been placed upon you. So that's sort of that's the general thought behind the evil eye. It shouldn't really come to a surprise, I'm sure, to many of you once you start thinking about it, because I'm sure you've seen this sort of curse memology kind of echo throughout all kinds of media. Note about evil eye mythology is that this curse can be lifted. So if you believe in the curse to begin with, you can have this curse lifted. And the cure for the curse is commonly held by older people, specifically older women. When I was doing research, the term yaya came up quite a bit. And what a yaya is it's basically sort of a affectionate term for a granny, for a Greek granny. And so if you think you're afflicted by the evil eye curse, go find your nearest yaya, and they might be able to help you lift the curse. And so what does all this have to do with anything? What does this have to do with Mega Man? Well, with Mega Man, a lot of the enemies have this sort of evil eye motif, like the single red, unblinking evil eye that's most iconically the yellow devil, which I'm going to dig up some footage and play here. But most likely it'll just be the footage from my last playthrough, where both the weak point and the sort of the focal point of the yellow devil's intelligence is all in that single unblinking evil red eye. And a lot of the Mega Man enemies have this sort of evil eye motif. We've got the Sniper Joes use it. There's a handful of other enemies that use it. And so what really kind of made me want to make this video to begin with was I recently went through and replayed Blasphemous 2. Now, if you're not familiar with the Blasphemous franchise, it is a Metroidvania style platformer with these beautiful 2D graphics, 2D platformer. If you've never played any of the Blasphemous games, highly recommend it. If you like Metroidvanias at all, go play Blasphemous. I know Blasphemous. If you've heard of it before, you've probably heard how difficult it is, or how easy it is, just depending on how particularly braggadocious somebody is. As somebody who is, I love video games. I'm not the best video game player in the world, but I was able to get through both Blasphemous titles. I did all the DLC. In fact, that was the main reason I went back and replayed Blasphemous 2, is I wanted to play the Mea Culpa DLC that was released, I guess, roughly 8 months ago, as of the recording of this video. It might have been a year ago, might have been longer. But in any event, if someone like me, who I'm not the best game player, I am not the best gamer, but I do love games, and I enjoy challenging games. I've played through all the here's my obligatory list of things that I've done. Right, I've played through all the Souls games. I've love Dark Souls, love Elden Ring. It took me a while to get through them. I struggled where you would expect a mediocre gamer to struggle through, but I did get through those games. But in my opinion, the most difficult sort of action game I've ever played was probably Ninja Gaiden Black on the Xbox. It was an Xbox game, right? Yeah, I believe it was. That was. I remember when I finally beat that game, I thought that I had never played anything as difficult as that was, and even after beating Demon Souls and Dark Souls and all of those games, I still can't help but think that particular Ninja Gaiden title was still the most difficult game that I ever played through. And granted, I haven't played that game in, I don't know, 15 some odd years. So I'm kind of curious if I ever go back and play it. I wonder if I've gotten better, just by playing all of these From Software titles. And so before I get too off track, because the idea behind this video is to keep it fairly short, keep it under 15 minutes. And I'm looking at the time, and I've already burned so much. So just to kind of get back on track, Blasphemous is a challenging platformer, and it has a lot of kind of Soulsy type mechanics where if you die, you leave behind a ghostly after image of yourself, and you want to go back and try to reclaim that, get back to the point where you died and reclaim your I can't remember the exact, I think it's like prayer power, but basically it's their currency in the world that you use to upgrade. There is a motive force to get you to go back to where you died, right? At least get back to where you died, and then continue your progress, which is was made popular by the Souls franchise. If you died, dying is just part of the framework in which you use to progress yourself. So Blasphemous has that sort of mechanic. It's got some very challenging boss fights, but they're fun. I really enjoyed it. But just to get back to what I was talking about, Blasphemous 2 in particular has the evil eye motif. I'll have some gameplay footage of me kind of stumbling and bumbling through, but there's this particular enemy, and I don't really know that it'd be interesting to see if we can get like a list of enemy names, or like a Blasphemous bestiary. I probably should have done more research on that, but these particular enemies are basically just floating golden orbs, and initially, when I was thinking back to it, I thought that this was an allusion to the all-seeing eye, which is the complete opposite of the evil eye. So the all-seeing eye, which you would see on your, if anybody still has cash these days, if you were to pull out a $1 bill, you would see a pyramid with an eye on it, and that eye represents the all-seeing eye. It's supposed to represent God. I know a lot of people think, oh, it's the Illuminati. Not quite. That it's a different type of symbolism. It's supposed to represent the omniscience and the omnipotence of God, and that God sees everything. And so initially, when I was thinking back to this, when I was playing through Blasphemous 2, I thought, okay, this is supposed to be like a corrupted take on the all-seeing eye. This all-seeing eye is evil. Like so many things in Blasphemous, there's this game is absolutely drenched in sort of Roman Catholic symbolism, and I'm not an expert. I'm certainly not an expert on Roman Catholicism, but I find the symbolism in Roman Catholicism absolutely beautiful. I like Eastern Orthodox symbolism. I find all of it really interesting. And so Blasphemous 2 was just right up, or Blasphemous in general, right up my alley, because it borrows heavily from Christian iconography and Christian symbolism in order to create this world where the miracle is sort of a thinly veiled take on what if the message of God, or what if the power of God was somehow twisted by an evil organization. What would that be like? And what if the miracle was essentially a sort of a monkey's paw echo of what you would expect a divine miracle to be? That's sort of my take on Blasphemous. And so when I saw this eyeball enemy, I was like, okay, this is supposed to be an evil take on the all-seeing eye. The all-seeing eye, instead of looking upon you and seeing you and knowing every hair on your head, it's actually seeking your destruction. One enemy type, if you get too close, it'll have little blast waves that attack you. The other enemy is just shooting a laser beam, which we'll talk more about the laser beam here in a minute. But then when I went back to replay it, I realized that this is not necessarily a corrupted all-seeing eye. This is an evil eye. And the reason I make that case is that when you walk up to the enemy, when you first walk up to that enemy, you see like a faint ghostly image. And what is it an image of? Well, if you look carefully, it looks like an old woman. And if you kind of read into what I mentioned earlier about how the evil eye is usually cast by somebody who is jealous, if you look in like old movies where somebody talks about giving you the evil eye, it's usually an old woman giving an evil eye towards a younger woman, usually based out of jealousy, or maybe the younger woman has slighted that older woman in some way, and so the older woman casts the evil eye. And so I saw this sort of ghostly older woman, and in fact, even before this enemy attacks, if you look carefully at sort of the surface of this enemy, the kind of that glass surface, you can actually see like a face, and I think that's the old woman's face. And then when it's ready to attack, it turns into an eye, turns into an evil eye that seeks your destruction. And so after I'd actually, I think if I remember right, I was playing Blasphemous 2 while I was making the Mega Man 2, actually while I was sort of making the notes for the Mega Man video, for the Mega Man symbolism video, and I made like a little side note to mention Blasphemous during that, and then I didn't, and then I've just been thinking about it ever since, like, about this particular symbol, and I was like, okay, well, where else have I seen that? Well, another game that I've played recently was the new Prince of Persia game put out by Ubisoft not too long ago. It's Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. Now, before I get anybody up in arms, I realize that Ubisoft is not exactly a gamer-friendly company. I really don't want this channel to kind of turn into a channel where I just complain about the current state of the industry, although I certainly could. Like, I've got a lot of things to say about that. But really, I want to focus on sort of the importance of some of these old ancient ideals and ideals that we want to kind of, as gamers, as appreciators of art in general, we should probably carry with us. And so I don't want to get too bogged down into what I think about some of these big companies. But say what you will about Ubisoft, this game was actually quite fun. And so if you've not played this Prince of Persia game and you like Metroidvanias, I mean, it's no Blasphemous. It's not the best Metroidvania, but it's still fun. And it's not particularly difficult. So if you find yourself, see this game on sale someday, go pick it up. It doesn't have a lot of the, like, if you weren't aware of some of the problems going on with Ubisoft, you would never know about it because this game doesn't really draw attention to any. There's no microtransactions. There's none of that. It just feels like a game that was released maybe 15 years ago, which I say that out of as a good thing. Like this, before games really started becoming what they are now. This was kind of a step back into the past of how games used to be. So quite fun Metroidvania. But what I wanted to talk about as far as the eyeballs is that there's actually two. So this game, you get these things called amulets, and these amulets you can equip them sort of like a talent tree. You can sort of build out what you want your character to sort of excel at. And so two of these amulets in particular have to do with eye symbolism. The first one is the Eye of Destiny. And this is basically the cube of Zoe from Symphony of the Night. This allows you to see enemy health bars. And so I like that because I can, as I'm playing through games where I can see an enemy health bar, I can sort of make calculated risk. Like, okay, I know this enemy's about to die, so I'm just gonna, I'm going to dash forward and give it my all. Do like a big attack, or I'm going to attack and then immediately move forward because I know the enemy won't be there. I know the enemy will be dead, that kind of thing. And so I usually, anytime there's an item in a game that allows me to see the enemy health bar as a kind of a persistent thing, I always equip that. And so I thought that was interesting that this is called the Eye of Destiny. And so this kind of goes back to what I was talking about the all-seeing eye. I think there's something to be said about the Eye of Destiny sort of being an analog to the all-seeing eye, because it essentially gives you insight into the enemy, allows you to see the enemy's vitality, much like God has an omniscient view of the world, of time and space, and can see through and has insights on you that you don't realize about yourself. That's the Eye of Destiny. At least my take on it. The other amulet that you can equip is literally called the Evil Eye Amulet. So if there cannot be any stronger tie to the Evil Eye symbolism. Literally calling an item in your game the Evil Eye Amulet. And so what this does is it gives you a massive increase in attack power, but it basically makes it to where any attack, any damage you take kills you. And so I had not really played much with it when I first played through the game. So when I went back to record some gameplay, I went through and equipped it and did a little bit of gameplay. And I didn't last very long. I didn't realize how kind of reckless I played through Prince of Persia. But it was actually fun. It does definitely increase your attack power. It does kind of change the nature of the game a little bit. But so there you go. You've got Mega Man, Blasphemous 2, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. What do they all have in common other than being video games and platformers? They all have this evil eye symbolism. And so that's what I would like this channel to be about, is like let's pick out the symbols, let's pick out the ideas that have kind of echoed through time, that have literally survived the test of time and have found their way into the media that we all love so much, and into video games. And so this one in particular just kind of really shone out to me. And in fact, the game that I'm currently playing now, I picked up Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which I did not have high hopes for this game because it comes from a studio that I'm not particularly wild about recently. But you know what? Actually, pretty good game. There's a couple of questionable story elements, but again, I don't want this channel to become a channel that just complains about modern things too much. And so that aside, if you're willing to look past some of the annoying story elements, like 99% of this game is fantastic. Like they get the voice acting is great. The sort of Indiana Jones isms, the kind of the mannerisms are spot on. Even the lighting, I noticed like they kind of do this. I don't know what the proper film term is, but the sort of accent lighting on the faces and the eyes whenever during dialogue, very striking. I mean, it really does feel like I'm watching the Indiana Jones movie that we never got, right? The Indiana Jones sequel that never was. Like that's what playing the Great Circle is like for me. So I really had a lot of fun. But the reason I bring it up is there's this particular, and I try to say this without spoiling too much, but there's a particular area in the game where you're basically going around Egypt looking for artifacts, doing Indiana Jones things, and it got me thinking about the original movie, the Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. And there's a part in that movie where Indiana has a staff, and he's reading a verse that basically says the staff has to be X amount length, and then he affixes this medallion, and this medallion is basically it's the headpiece to the staff of Ra. And so I did a little bit of research on Ra because I'm my Egyptology my I haven't read much about Egypt mythology in a long time, and so I knew Ra was like the sun god, and that's about all I could remember. But looking into it, Ra, basically the medallion is like basically a giant eye, and the medallion belongs to essentially the king of the gods in sort of the Egyptian pantheon. And so again, it's a tie-in not necessarily to the evil eye, but to the all-seeing eye. And so what does Indiana Jones do in the movie? Well, he uses this staff, which is an artifice created to sort of represent the all-seeing eye. And what does it do? Well, the light shines upon the eye, and then the eye reflects that light and reveals a mystery, reveals the truth of a mystery. Much like the omniscient eye can see through you, the staff of Ra reveals the location of the treasure. In this case, happens to be where the ark is buried. So I thought that, I think it's the Well of Souls, right? Or maybe he's got the staff in the Well of Souls. I can't remember exactly. Now I've got an excuse to go back and watch the movie. But in any event, so there's your tie-in. We've got Indiana Jones, we've got Mega Man, we've got Blasphemous 2, Prince of Persia. All of these things have this interesting piece of memology, this mimetic symbol from ancient Greece, the evil eye, and then the all-seeing eye. And I don't want to conflate the two. I realize these are two very different things, but I guess it's just the eye, the symbol of the eye. There's a lot to be said for what eye symbolism is, and I kind of focused in on two of them, the evil eye and the all-seeing eye. So that's really just what I wanted to talk about was the evil eye, the Kako Mati, and the all-seeing eye, and where these symbols show up. So I would be curious, where have you guys seen this particular symbol, either the evil eye or the all-seeing eye? Where have you seen these symbols pop up in your favorite franchise? Let me know what you think. I'm going to be doing another video. It's going to be kind of another short form video while I work on the next symbolism video, which it won't be this month. It'll be probably next month when I get that one out. So yeah, I'll have another short form video, and I'm looking forward to rambling and discussing more symbols on this channel. So until next time, guys, let me know what you think, and we'll talk then. Bye.